So, Joe, where do you see her in the next season in 2025?
This is where I do get a bit concerned of F1 Academy. Okay, it's great what we're doing, putting all these female racers on a bigger stage, but after the 2 years, it's where did they go? For Bianca, I think she'll continue in Formula 4, like Italian Formula 4s, a couple other series here or there, but she loses that big stage presence, that big following from F1 Academy, that global stage, to now more regional, Italian Formula 4, UAE F4, more smaller area where don't have the audience level like F1 Academy. Overall, though, I think it's just one of those years where in motorsports, you sometimes have a good year, things are going great. This was just not her year, and just unfortunate time with being a part of the McLaren team. You got to perform. Ella Lloyd coming in for 2025. It'll be really interesting to see how she performs. For Bianca, I think the best thing to do is just focus on her driver development program, whether it's in the regional Formula 4 areas. Maybe she could look in something in the United States as well, too, but it's just a tough situation. That's a bit of the concern I have is after F1 Academy, you do lose sort of that global following presence when you go to your next move.
Yeah, Joe, I think the counter to that is probably that's something that's inevitable that comes with being, branded as the F1 Academy, being, support series to Formula One, the pinnacle of motorsport. But it also, I think, highlights how important it is for drivers to take advantage of the opportunities that they've been given here. And unfortunately for Bianca Bustamante, who showed a lot of promise in 2023, to only have one podium this year, despite being backed by McLaren and, being in a position where she could take advantage of that and, compete for a championship. Maybe not at, Abby Polling's level necessarily. I'm not saying that she needs to, be there for her to, have a surefire career path, down the road that she wants to take. But, would have hoped to have seen one more podium or more than one podium, I should say, from her so far this year. And looking at the last two rounds, to have not picked up a single point, only a best finish of 11th of a second Zandvoort race. I think you can certainly look at that and say, she had an opportunity and unfortunately she wasn't able to capitalize for it. But I think that this rule that F1 Academy has here, limiting drivers to 2 seasons, keeping them, between the ages of 16 and 25, I think, I can certainly understand where they're coming from here, because I think it is being put in place to prevent a situation like the W Series had with Jamie Chadwick, where Jamie came in the very first season in 2019 and won a title there. Obviously, the pandemic canceled the 2020 season, but then she came back in 2021, won the championship again, and didn't really find anywhere for her to go. So she just decided to come back to the W Series once again in 2022. And Joe, I remember we were talking on this show about the possibility that she might end up sweeping the entire season. Obviously that ended up not happening, and the series went into administration and unfortunately folded. But I think for Jamie at the time, I think it would have been better for her to step into, a Formula 3 car somewhere, or maybe if she wanted to go down the American path of the IndyCar series, come over to Indy next year earlier in 2022, because I think that she kind of lost a season of development in the sense of, you're already a 2-time W Series champion. This isn't supposed to be, the women's Formula One league or anything like that. What more do you really gain by just stomping the field every weekend in a series where you've already won 2 championships? So, I can certainly understand from Bianca's perspective the disappointment of not being able to return next year, losing the McLaren backing and losing that stage presence, to your point, Joe, as well. But at the same time, I can understand why these provisions are in place here. And I think long term, for somebody like Abby Pulling this year, who's also term limited, for lack of better terms, she's obviously dominated her way to championship here. She should absolutely get an opportunity in a Formula 3 series somewhere, if not the FIA Formula 3 outright. So we'll see how their career paths go from here. But I think it is good to have those provisions in place to prevent another situation like what happened with Jamie Chadwick in the W Series.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the provisions, the rules themselves, I think that's a great tool. This is just one of those unfortunate things where it's just your second year is sort of a down year compared to if this was her second year and she had more wins, maybe a championship contender. I think there would have been a lot more people knocking on her door about, hey, this is where we want you. Maybe McLaren has something with Extreme E or Extreme H as they're switching over to hydrogen cars. It's just one of those unfortunate deals, but that is something I think it is important. We have this provision where you have 2 years. This prevents somebody from being there 3 or 4 years and then just having a big advantage on somebody just starting out. So I do support the provisions, just the unfortunate time mainly for Bianca.